Yeah, I like this trade here. Honestly, I'm going to take this right off the bat.
Order. Order submitted.
Yeah, and I'm going to have my stops at the high there. Just looking at pre-market highs getting ran and price to quickly trade towards this London low. And we start breaking the lows here, I will go break even. But again, I'm looking at this London high as protected since we did sweep that Asia high. So if the market wants to trade above the pre-market high, sweep that liquidity and start displacing down towards some of these lows, it's going to do it right now, right? And these are pre-market lows right here as well. Yeah, I would say this looks pretty good to continue to take these lows and down to this London low. So there we are, sweeping that pre-market low. Let's see if price comes back. Now, I do want to go break even, but I don't want to go break even too fast, right? Because we are forming a fair value gap here. But with FOMC later, it could take a little bit to get down there, right?
Order canceled.
Oh, I accidentally just canceled my order. Whoops. Is it a buy limit?
Order submitted.
I accidentally just messed up my buy limit there. Frank, your audio's out. Is anybody else's audio out? Or is it just Frank? Can't hear. Can anybody hear? Is anybody else's audio out? Hello, hello, hello. You're good? Yeah. It's like when Alex can't hear, everybody else can hear. And then when Alex can hear, everybody else can't. I don't know, man. It's crazy. It's crazy, man. Yeah, at this point, I just want to see this as a breakaway gap, this fair value gap. So I will go break even at this point. And now I just want to see price continue to spool down towards this London low. Yeah, kind of a waiting game now. We could see price consolidate, or we just see it run straight for the target. Yo, what up, Jofer? What up, brother? Always on the days you're late. Yeah. Thank you, Frank. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, like if price was, I feel like if price wanted to manipulate above that London high, it wouldn't have closed back strong in the pre-market, or taken the pre-market like that, pre-market high, and closed back in the range so hard, right? Maybe took that high, closed down below, but still a bullish candle. Let's see. If my stop loss was below here, I'd be pretty nervous, right? So I guess we hold this for the final target. Yeah, look at that. It's very weird on micros lately. MNQ, it's been showing. It hasn't been showing like a candle, like that 935 candle is missing. I've been noticing that lately. I don't know what's up with that. Like that 935 candle just isn't there. Yeah, just kind of a waiting game now. I think we get that final push down into that London low. And it'll probably continue down towards this 2 standard deviation, honestly. It'll probably continue a little bit after sweeping that low, I'm thinking. But it might take some time. It might just trickle down there a little bit. So we'll see. I would say at this point, if we break that low, it should be pretty clean to go for that London low, right? Are you guys still having audio issues at all? Like, I guess you guys can hear now. Maybe. Yeah, you can now. Sweet. ES is holding pretty solid, which is interesting, right? Got big SMT here. ES is not even close to that level. Yeah, I'm thinking about actually just closing. I'm thinking about just closing this position. We have a huge divergence here. 15-minute candles making a wick. Could be possible we trade it down into that London low still, but kind of want to see what this candle does. Because we are trading below that pre-market. No partials. No partials. We might get a god candle here on the 1 minute time frame. Choo. All right, so trading into that 5 minute fair value gap. This 1 minute doesn't look too promising, but still got that 5 minute fair value gap. Hmm. Oh, it just spiked up. Oh man. Yeah, good sign. I guess that good sign there would have been the look how it's trading up into that gap there though. That gap is about to get gapped. Yeah. That's pretty crazy actually. Got 30 seconds. Let's see if that wants to invert. He resisting. Oh man. Yeah, I'm gonna close there on that inversion.
Order filled.
Yeah, It's a little unfortunate. We couldn't get that London low. We inversed that fair value gap there, so that's going to be the trade there. Really close to getting that London low, but just couldn't quite get that. Unfortunate. We were about $180 in profit there, but and there we would have seen break even. So pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. we have this huge divergence here. We have this huge divergence. So, but what I'm seeing with this divergence, what this is telling me though, is that we are range bound. This divergence is telling me that we're range bound, right? So we're sweeping both sides of liquidity right now. We just swept the pre-market high and we swept the pre-market low. So we're definitely going back and forth, and we could possibly take this London high and roll over and take the London low. Yeah, that recovery was kind of crazy. But is it actually a recovery? Or are we just tapping into that 5-minute fair value gap? Not sure. It looks like it might want to be a recovery. And we leave that London low. Not bad price action, though. Not bad price action, I'm going to say. I mean, we didn't take that London low there, but it was pretty clean from the pre-market high to the pre-market low. I can't like be mad about that, you know. It is kind of range bound. T-shaped recovery. So high, buy low. Now I'm looking to see like where the market is going to move 100 points, right? So from the highest point, right up here to the lowest point, it would be breaking that London low. But right now, price is on its way back up, and 100 points from that low point would be that fair value gap and that London high. So right now, seeing a V-shaped recovery in that 30-minute time frame, I will say, longs would be the better play here into those London highs. That's what I would say. That's what I honestly think at this point, right? Ideally, would like to see a more of a V-shaped recovery. This 15-minute candle is still an inside bar though. So Got some crazy volume coming in. These candles are crazy. Some of these candles are pretty nuts. That fair value gap's getting respected though. Like I said, if you're trying to, if you're trying to get in on the market, just catch that 100 points. This would be the low there. But if you're long, maybe that's the low. And this would be that 100 points. That was an interesting candle right there at 954 though. Definitely an interesting candle. But I mean, look at these 4-hour candles ahead of FOMC. You know what I mean? We had this huge run up on price, and now we're just trickling. No volume candles since yesterday, 2 p.m. Just nothing. Now we could be reclaiming that fair value gap. Then that London low is back on the table. Well, ES didn't even get close to the London low. ES wasn't even close to the pre-market low. So, I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, the only explanation you could say for taking profit early here is that it's FOMC day and you can expect, maybe these targets not to get ran to and a little bit more manipulation, right? But that's very, very, very cherry picking though. That is very cherry picking. Like you can't be like that all the time because, you know, sometimes you're going to be right about it, sometimes you're going to be wrong. I mean, even making $40 on that trade, like I'm not mad, not mad at all. I mean, it sucks. Like obviously, I was up $180. Like I could have took profit there and been up on the day, big time chilling, right? But it's like this is where we're gonna see price maybe go a little range bound before 10 a.m. Let's see. Price is definitely giving mixed signals, but overall, still pretty bearish. Was feeling a little bullish until that candle came in right there, that 954 candle. Huge volume off of the midnight open. It's pretty crazy sometimes these levels, the reaction off of these levels, right? That we talk about all the time, this standard deviation level getting tapped into this midnight open. Look how touchy-feely it can be sometimes. Yeah, ES and Q have not been in correlation. And I said this last time there was Nvidia earnings, because when there's Nvidia earnings, Nvidia is like hot for like a month afterwards, and it's extremely, extremely out of correlation. Gotta get new AirPods, bro. Maybe FOMC got you today. Maybe. I probably won't trade FOMC though. I might watch it, but I never trade FOMC. I just check and see what the market's doing and how it reacted, but you know, there's that London low finally getting tagged. Little unfortunate. Little unfortunate. Price definitely giving mixed signals here though. At this point, inverting that fair value gap like that, and then trading up into that fair value gap. I know a lot of people are probably getting cooked in today's price action. If you're trading just off ICT concepts, right? So I'm going to be talking about this a lot more, and I've already started talking about this. When you come to the market every day, where can you catch 100 points? Where can you catch 100 points between the hours of 9:30 and 11 a.m.? You know what I mean? From the highest point to the lowest point, where can you catch like a little piece of the pie, right? Because sometimes price might move 200 points between 9:30 and 11, but on average, it's always going to move that 100 points. Yesterday was a little bit one-off scenario where we had, the day before FOMC, so I think it only moved like 80 points. But, I think it's important to come to the market and have some targets in mind, or a target in mind, and then look to see where you can get a really good fill, right, to catch 100 points. You know what I mean? So if you're long right now and you want to see these London highs get taken, maybe you're trying to long the market right now to get a good fill, right? If you want to see these London highs get ran for, you're longing the market right now and you have your stops below this low. Know what I'm saying? Actually, let me write this. try something. Ah, didn't work. I was gonna try to save it as a template, but it's whatever. But yeah, that London low getting ran. Trying to see if I see anything else like for the day, honestly. We're taking that sell side liquidity that we mentioned yesterday and we're trading back into a discount, right? So now we are trading at a discount level and honestly price could go either way at this point. You know, we could continue down towards this sell side liquidity during FOMC or we start making our way higher, right? Kind of depends. I think if we see the rate cuts, if we see those rate cuts, I think we will see a rally today. But yeah, like I said, I think you know, we possibly trade into that 2 standard deviation there and then possibly trade back into the range ahead of FOMC. Got another 5-minute fair value gap here. Like I said, price is moving a little bit, you know. Price is moving, not bad price action, honestly. Pre FOMC, I'm not gonna be mad about it at all. So yeah, this is only like 30 points away, so it's kind of a whatever trade. Yeah, we don't get price action like this, honestly. So there's two ways like I classify price action. Like yesterday, rice like rice. Yesterday, price action was nice in my opinion. It was just slow, right? It was slow and it didn't give big moves, right, in terms of points. But, you know, it was still clean price action in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like we ran very nicely towards that Asia low and then we trickled down. Like this wasn't bad price action in my opinion. It wasn't chop city, you know. And right now price action is really nice as well. You know, we had a sweep of that pre-market high. Price started trading lower towards that pre-market low and eventually made its way back towards that London low. Now we did get stopped out at break even, but that doesn't mean that this was still not good price action, right? We respected that fair value gap nicely. We did invert this fair value gap that gave us like a little bit of a confusion, right? A little bit of a hiccup. But we still respected that fair value gap off the open and then made our way towards that London low. That's clean price action. You know what I mean? Now, it is still a little bit slower, right? Now, this price action, it could start going crazy, right? Like where we sweep this London low and now we start making our way towards the London high. Then I would say that's, you know, that's pretty seek and destroy mode, right? Where you're sweeping the high, sweeping the low, coming back, sweeping the low, coming back for the high. Like that's a little not so good price action. But you know, I classify anything that's slow is like if it's taking its time to reach that 100-point mark. If price is taking a long time to reach 100 points, then it's slow market conditions, right? Like yesterday, we only moved like 70 points, you know, between the hours of 9:30 and 11 a.m. You know, sometimes it's easy to, get caught up in like the very second that you're trading, but like if we look at it from like a time perspective, right, we still have 50 minutes until 11 a.m. Like we've already got so much movement in the first 40 minutes of the open. We're not even halfway through that point where we want to see targets get met. Because that's my whole like thought process when I'm trading. Where is price going to run towards levels of liquidity between the hours of 9:30 and 11 a.m., right? And we already, we tapped into the pre-market high. We took the pre-market low. Now we took the London low. Like targets are already off the table, right? Targets are becoming off the table. So now trading becomes a little bit harder when you have no targets in mind, right? My only target in mind right now is this 2 standard deviation. Anything else is just kind of like, you know, I feel like I would be gambling a little bit, right? Because I'm not so interested in models that appear, right? I'm more interested in what are easy levels that price could reach for. And that's always been like my whole strategy. Like once levels get hit, you know, it's kind of off the table. Like trading's kind of off the table for the day because like if you have no target in mind or you don't see where price is going to go, you know, why would you want to trade a model if you don't have a clean target in mind? You know what I mean? But I've always said this, I don't care like where you enter, but is your stop loss in a good spot and do you have a good target? I don't care about the risk to reward a lot of the times. I would like to get a 1-to-1 risk to reward, right? At least a 1 hour win. But a lot of the times, you're not going to get that. Especially if you're trying to trade on confirmation. You know what I mean? Like if you traded this inversion model off the pre-market, you would have failed. You know what I mean? You waited for confirmation, but then, you're going to get all types of comments on social media if you post this trade on social media. Oh, you should have waited for that fair value gap to invert, right? But it's like, sometimes this trade will play out, sometimes it won't. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. I stress to people that models really don't matter. At the end of the day, it is risk management. It is risk management and discipline. You know what I mean? Like in this situation, I went break even. I got $40 profit and I ended up being in drawdown. Now this trade would have played out, right? But there's a world where it doesn't play out and it goes to this London high as well. You know what I mean? Yeah, bro. Nothing else really matters. Like once you have the experience in the market and you can look at a chart and, make analysis on the chart, the models and the strategies, all that stuff, it's not as important, right? If you could look at price every day and say, okay, I think price is going to go to this London low, and every day you came to the market and you just took a trade based on where you think price would go and putting your stop loss in a logical area and just, the same risk every single time. Every day I come to the market, I'm just going to short it into this London low and I'll give myself the same risk as take profit, right? This clear 1-to-1. Boom, you won this day. On to the next one. Because I guarantee you, everybody here who has been trading, you've been trading for, 6 months to a year, you can tell where price is going to go. At the beginning of the session every day, if you think this London low was going to get ran, you were right. And that's the only thing that really matters in terms of like strategy, right? Like about your strategy, where is price going to go? The hard part is putting your stop loss in a good area, right? Because obviously anywhere in this range would have been a good trade, right? Anywhere in this range would have been a good trade, but obviously you start chasing price, your risk to reward is going to go down a little bit. You're waiting for confirmation, and then at this point you don't want to take that trade into the London low. But you come to the market and you're like, oh, okay, London low is going to get ran. So you're just taking a trade based off that and putting your stop in a logical area. Maybe you're right 70% of your time, but you're right 70% of the time, You're taking a 1-to-1. That's profitable right there. Just taking one trade a day, and you journal that. And then all you have to focus on is getting right about, or being right about where price is going to go. That's your only focus, right? Because risk management is already intact. You know, if I came to the market and I was just like, okay, short in here, stop loss 1-to-1. Okay, I want to risk 1 or 2 contracts, and boom, then you're done for the day. You come back the next day. But the biggest thing killing traders is knowing more, in my opinion. The more you know, the more it's going to hurt you. And the more you take a step back and just look at price from a logical perspective, and then just focus on your risk and your discipline, then you'll be solid. You know, that was like when I very, very, very first started trading, like literally within like the first week or two, like I would just look at the chart every day. Like I didn't even know what currency pair I was looking at on MT4, like on my phone. I didn't know I was looking at USD JPY. I didn't know I was looking at Euro USD. But all I did was I looked at the market every night and I was like, okay, it's gonna go up. So I just hit buy, and I'd wake up the next day and have all this money on the MT4. It wasn't until I started learning strategies and support and resistance and stuff like that that trading became difficult. You know what I mean? And it's so funny to say that, like when I first began, I just looked at the chart and just, if I was just like, okay, it's gonna go up or it's gonna go down. I think all these concepts and strategies are very catching to people, but like it's not completely necessary at all. And I know I go on these rants, probably like ICT, bro, ranting, but it's 100% true. And once you realize that risk management is everything, that's going to be the turning point. Yeah, exactly, bro. The more you learn, the more it's going to kill you. I'm serious. You know, I know every concept in the book, bro, and I've traded like everything. You know what I mean? And that's when I start looking at the chart too much as well. Like you start to see everything. You start to see, okay, we could go long because we're in a daily fair value gap. We can go short because we're trading off a 4-hour fair value gap and we inverted this fair value gap. Like you see everything. And it's like at that point, you can't make a decision about where you want price to go, you know? But if you just took a step back and you looked at the market at 9:30 and you were like, okay, you know, when I look at price at 9:30, I'm like, okay, where's price likely to go here? We're starting to trend down, okay, and I'm expecting this London low to get hit. Maybe I just take a sell right off the open. Put our stop in a logical area above these highs and see if we can get that follow through. You know what I mean? But yeah, over analyzing is a big problem, man. And knowing too much. Everybody wants to know all these things. But that's the thing too. Like trading is like a game, right? And it's addicting in a sense where you're learning all of these concepts. You're having, it is a dopamine hit, right? You're feeding your brain dopamine because you're learning. You're absorbing all this information and you're learning, and it's like the end goal is like there, right, in your mind. But the thing is, it the end goal, like in trading, less is more. So the more hard work that you're putting in, the more you're actually hurting yourself. This is my opinion, but it shows in 90% of traders who can't be profitable. It's because of that. You know what I mean? You could be putting in all this work and, 8 hours a day studying and you just can't make it work. But that end goal in trading that everybody is seeking, it's very boring. That end goal where you're doing the same thing every day, you're taking one trade and risking the same thing every day is very boring and very mundane, right? But you get in this loop of learning different strategies, trying a different strategy, it working a little bit and then not working the next week, and then you do it again, and it's a vicious cycle. It's a very, very vicious cycle, you know? But that end goal of trading is very boring, and it's not very fulfilling at that point because you're playing a game that you've already beat. You know what I mean? Now, don't get me wrong, there's always things to refine and things you can do to make your trading strategy and your edge a little bit better in your system. But once you get a grasp on risk management and the discipline and stuff, like trading becomes boring. And you won't want to sit in front of the chart 8 hours a day because, you realize like the more you're trading too, the worse it's going to be. I think a lot of people confuse patience with trading as well. Patience in a sense like, okay, you can be patient and wait for, a setup, right? You can be patient on the daily and wait for a setup, but what about being patient on a weekly time frame? What about being patient on a monthly or yearly time frame? And I'm not talking about time frame like this. I'm talking about like real life time frame. Like, are you patient enough to, you know, be in a break even state for a week or two, to be profitable for a week and then lose money another week, patient in a sense like that, and stay disciplined to follow your same system week in, week out, month in, month out, right? Because, like, on a daily, it's easy to be patient and wait for a setup here, but what happens when 3 days goes by and you have no setup? Like, then what happens? You know what I mean? Then are you super eager to push a button? Like, look what happened this week. Nothing really happened this week. You know what I'm saying? Took a small loss on Monday. Yesterday took a small win. Today took a small win. Nothing's really happening. We're awaiting FOMC, but how many people blew up their account Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? You know what I mean? Maybe people held their cool on Monday, but yesterday completely blew their account because you can't have patience on a weekly time frame. You know what I'm saying? 100 is a big win for me. Amen. 100 is good. 100 is really good, especially if you're trading multiple accounts. You know what I mean? Yeah, 20 accounts, it all adds up. And I think, the digital perspective on money, like you're trading digital money here, it really, puts a bad taste of money in your mouth. If somebody came up on the street, Randy says this all the time, and hands you $100, you're taking that shit. You know what I mean? Or you're doubling it and giving it to the next person. uh, Yeah, I know, bro. I know. Apex, you can really compound some money, and sometimes maybe I should do that too. Maybe I should be like, dude, you know what? I'm up. We're almost at that level. Just take profit. Don't let this come back and hit your break even. Maybe that's something I need to learn to do a little bit more. Just take profit and, like, even those small wins. But You know, it is what it is, you know. Maybe that's something I can learn. I'll look at my data, you know, and trade sell it, see if I'm leaving money on the table. It is bad for risk to reward, especially with kind of the trading that I do. Um, you know, because my win rate is a little bit lower as of lately. I haven't been putting my stops in a good area. I've been right about price, but putting my stops in a bad area and taking losses that I don't really need to. But yeah, I mean, taking taking profit like this, you know, on the trade that I had, you know, it might not be profitable long term. You know, I do want to see at least a 1R win, which would be, you know, 200, you know, and being able to scale into that trade because usually I'm cutting trades early before I even lose 200. You know what I mean? I hardly ever take a full 1R loss anymore. But yeah, but that's just kind of my style of trading, and everybody has their like little edge, you know, that you'll come into. 49% win rate, 2 to 1. Yeah, the thing is, like, too, like, that's the problem I have with back testing. Like, when you're sitting here for, so how many times out of your data, like, did it take all day for that 2 to 1 get hit? Like, you know, is your 2 to 1 getting hit at 3 p.m. in the afternoon? Sometimes maybe 1 p.m. in the afternoon. You know what I mean? Every morning. I mean, that's different than, I mean, like if you can, you know, if you can backtest and you're not really managing the trade at all, you're just taking the trade and walking away, you know, and just letting it do its thing, then cool. But if you're sitting here at the chart, I could tell you for a year straight, you're not going to be able to just take that trade and let it ride. You're going to have some manual input. Yeah. No, and I mean, it gets me too, you know, because you see, like, sometimes how I scale into trades very aggressively. Yesterday, I scaled in very aggressively. I scaled into 4 contracts, and it ended up not playing in my favor, right? And I hit break even, and then we hit my target. You know what I mean? So, over managing a trade is definitely a real thing. You know what I mean? But like today, I didn't over manage my trade too much. I went break even at a logical point, and then I closed my trade once we inverted that fair value gap. So I mean, it was very logical, and I would very much do it again. You know what I mean? That was good trade management. Now, yesterday I probably could have left the 2 contracts on and went break even and been fine the whole day. You know what I mean? And it would have hit take profit, but I did scale in, and I ended up hitting break even from it. So that might have been a little bit of an over manage on that trade. But there's that 2 standard deviation getting hit um, pretty nicely there. And I talk about the 100 points, right? I talk about the 100 points between 9:30 and 11. There's your 100 points. Your 100 points right into that 2 standard deviation from that high. So anywhere in this range, if you were short, right? Stops maybe there, targeting 100 points. Anywhere here would have been good, right? So break even is fine. Like with Apex, I understand what you're saying. Like I was in profit $170 and then it goes down to zero. But now I look at it from a next trade perspective, right? So now on that next trade, I don't have to worry about that $170 like fluctuation, right? So if I instantly start going in profit, $50, and then it comes down and hits stop loss, I still don't have to worry about that trailing drawdown. You see what I'm saying? So it kind of gives you a little bit of cushion for the next trade, but that's being very optimistic about it, you know. But the trailing drawdown really doesn't bother me, when I risk $200 per trade because it really takes a huge losing streak for me. I mean, me losing 10 trades in a row or, having a 10% win rate over the course of 20 trades is very, very, very rare, right? Like I went through a dry spell recently, but it would take me, 12 full losing trades, to blow these 50K accounts, right? And I mean, you guys see me all the time. I'm cutting trades early. I'm not taking full risk. I'll take, $80 risk, $120 risk. So, I mean, it really, really takes a lot for me to blow these accounts, right? But that's the whole goal, right? You want to be able to flex having, 100+ days trading on the PA accounts. Like my last set of PA accounts, I had like 70 or 80 days traded on them. You know what I mean? That's the biggest flex. You know what I'm saying? Cool. I mean, cool. Like you can get a super big payout in 20 days, but like you keep trading aggressively like that, like how long are those PA accounts going to last? You know what I mean? Really try to keep your accounts for, 3 or 4 trading months. And that's really good, bro. $150 a day, that's really good. Like it would take you so long, so long. I try to only take 1 to 2 trades a day. Sometimes I'll take 3 or 4, but I never go over my max loss. My max loss is $400, and that's a pretty bad day. You know what I mean? That makes me feel some type of way. Yeah, when I hit max loss days, it does tilt me, but I haven't hit a max loss day in a while. Just because like I close trades early and then I understand like I close trades early and if I have no more bias, then I'm just out. So yeah, getting a little reaction off that 2 standard deviation. I'm really curious to see if Bryce wants to trade back in the range here, but I'm not going to take any more trades ahead of FOMC. This was my final target for the morning session. So now, not really sure what price is going to do, but I'm assuming we fizzle out and we consolidate up until FOMC. That's the thought process. Mental is still not good. What do you struggle with, Eric? Like, like a losing trade, you can't take a loss, or Brain can't take it when it actually happens. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like sometimes, and you got to figure that out about yourself too. Like if you're a person that can't take losses, then you're gonna have to work more of a system that's gonna be like 1-to-1 risk to reward, right? Or maybe zero point 0.7 risk to reward or something like that. Something where you're winning like very, very often, right? But the thing is, you still have to understand that losses are going to happen. So if maybe you have an 80% win rate, you know, you still have to be able to handle that. But that's what, anybody that's struggling though with over trading, in general and just like, handling losses, I would say, like I said, come to the market every single day and just have one trade idea. Have one trade idea and go off that. Just come to the market and be like, okay, I want to go long today. I want to go short today. And just see, what's a logical area. You got this target in mind. Okay, I want to take this short. And just let the trade play out and go on to the next day. You have one trade idea, one trade, and you're done. Win or lose. And it's so hard to do that. But if you did that for a month and then watch the data, like you didn't even really like trade a model, you know what I mean? Maybe you looked at what happened in the pre-market, right? Or what happened like yesterday, but you're not even trading a model in the day. You're just getting a good fill price, you know? So is this I mean, this is good. This is good stats, bro. This is good stats. Now, the ATM strategy is that the pre-market high to the pre-market low. So I mean, like today would have been a really good, really good trading day for you. Pre-market high to the pre-market low. Yeah. Still cut it short. Yep. See, there it is. You know, it's so hard. It's so much harder. When you're waiting for the model to happen, it's almost like, when you take that trade, you have to essentially just like walk away. Unfortunately, just like seeing the candles in real time form throw you off. So Thursday's my biggest wins. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are my highest profitable days. Mondays and Fridays, for whatever reason, I'm just cooked. I am cooked on Thursday or on Mondays and Fridays. So what I've been doing on Mondays and Fridays is I've been like scaling back a little bit and like I will like only take a small loss, or only take like one trade. But yeah, the biggest problem with Mondays and Fridays, they tend to be a little bit more like ranging, right? They tend to be a little bit more consolidating and not like trending. So when I'm looking for a higher time frame liquidity to be ran, it's not running for liquidity on those days, right? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, price is running a little bit more cleanly to targets. But on Monday, Friday, it chops around a little bit more and grabs more liquidity and takes people out of the market. So I think that's why my strategy is doesn't work so well on Monday, Fridays. Taking a second trade after first loss is not possible. Let's see. Yeah, that's a hard thing too. Then you're battling a whole nother demon. You're battling revenge trading. You know what I mean? I like all the data. I like all the data. My only gripe about this model is you have so many moving parts and you got to be like a robot when you trade with this many confluences. If your daily bias aligns, you know what I mean, for it to be like an A plus setup. It's just yeah, trading like a robot is the hardest thing to do, bro. Like I mean, obviously we're humans, we're gonna make mistakes. But yeah. Oh, sorry, Frank, I didn't see that chart. I didn't see that chart that you posted. Yeah, look at those standard deviations playing out a little bit. What time frame is this? This is can I see this? Yeah, that's the hourly chart. Yeah, this is kind of playing out. That might be something that FOMC hits though, man. Like I said, I mean, I think I'm gonna take all this off my chart at this point. We if we look at like the market every day and how many points it's moving, in the session, it kind of varies for sure. Right now we've moved 115 points at the 9:30 open. But yeah, we could see price start trading towards this gap, right? At this point. Nice little gap fill there. Price is on its way to V-shaped recovery. This right here could be something that we see during FOMC, right? But it's probably going to get pretty messy today during FOMC. There's a lot of talks about rate cuts. But yeah, boys, I think my target got met for the day. I think this is this is where I head out and not trade for the rest of the day. Just kind of chilling, right? At this point, I'm gonna watch, see how FOMC does. Don't think I'll trade it though. But yeah. All right, boys. I'm gonna head out, get some food. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Wouldn't gamble FOMC away. Still got Thursday, Friday. But yeah, I'll be around in the chat if you guys need me, if you want to talk or whatever. Just let me know. All right. Peace out, guys. Have a good one.